Hey, alrighty, just getting things set up. We will be starting very, very soon. Looking forward to that. If you're here early, you can see a few of you are here early. Jump into the chat. Let us know whereabouts in the world you are viewing this from. I'd love to hear from you. Also tells me that everything is working a-okay. So just jump into the chat box. Let me know where in the world you are viewing this from. This is the third time I've run this workshop this week, and we've had people from all over the world, which has been pretty cool. So we're going to start in about 3 minutes, and then I'm going to take you through the 6 simple composition techniques of pro landscape photographers. It is a free online workshop. Grab a pen, grab a paper. We'll go for about an hour, and we'll make that happen. Whilst we're getting things ready, quick trivia question for you. What is the most expensive photo ever sold? There you go. Does anybody know what that one is? The most expensive photo ever sold. Interesting to see if you know which one it is. Most expensive photo ever sold. That's your trivia question. All right, we're going to start in about 2 minutes now. Please jump into the chat box. Let me know where you are viewing this from. I would love to know where in the world you are, and that'll give me an idea of what's going on. So jump in there. Let me know where in the world you are viewing from. Perfect. Hey, Anne McDonald's from Devonport, Tasmania. Oh, I love Tassie. I just don't love how cold it gets down there. But I love Tassie for photography. Probably one of the best places. Lisa's over in Perth, WA. I like Perth as a city too. It's probably one of my favourite cities. Or maybe my favourite. I quite like Perth. Everything's close to the water in Perth or WA, except for when you're out, outback WA. But all the main cities and towns are, aren't they? Nice. If you're not sure what the most expensive photo ever sold is, yeah, let's just see if anybody knows. Most expensive photo. What I can tell you is it sold for over $4.3 million US. Incredible, isn't it? Think about it. All right, we're going to be starting in about 1 minute. If you just joined us, please jump into the chat box. Let us know where you are joining us from so get things here set up. Alrighty. Ready for an exciting session. All right, so the most expensive photo ever sold was a photo that was taken in, I think it was 1999 by Andreas Gerst, sold for $4.338 million at an auction. And if you go and have a look at the photo, it just goes to show you that not all photos need to be amazing to fetch $2. I'll leave it at that. I will leave it at that. All right. If you are just joining us, please jump into the chat box. Let us know where in the world you are viewing from this live training, and we are going to get things underway. Let me know where in the world you are viewing from in the chat. All right, here we go. All right, so today we are going to be learning how to take amazing landscape images, even if you have been frustrated or maybe struggled in the past with your results. For me, it wasn't always easy, and you're going to learn that today. I'm going to take you through and explain a little bit about how I got to where I am. And, this is not about, I guess, creating images that you can sell for $4.3 million. No, this is just about you getting to a point where you can take photos that you are proud to share, that you are happy with, and that you feel, represent what it is you saw when you're out there. I'm going to teach you some techniques that I have been applying now and teaching for quite some time and been getting amazing results. Now, as a special thank you for those of you that have registered online through the free online training link, you will get emailed the composition checklist at the end because I'll have your details. If you have not registered that way and you're viewing this some other way, unfortunately, you won't get emailed the checklist. But if you have registered, you get emailed the checklist at the end of today for attending as a special thank you. All right, just letting you know you're in the right place if you've been overwhelmed or found it difficult to take images in the past that you are happy with. I think for so many of us, as photographers, it can get a little bit overwhelming sometimes with all the different, techniques and rules of composition and, all the gear, especially these days, we're seeing new gear come out all the time and it can be overwhelming. So if you've struggled to work out what to do when, what settings to use, how to compose an image, then today is definitely going to be a great asset for you. Also, you're in the right place if you're open to learning and looking for a simple way. One of the things I like to do is keep things really simple. I don't like overcomplicating things. So I'm going to share with you today 3 tricks that the pro photographers use, and I'm going to take you through 6 different elements, maybe a few more actually elements, but essentially 6 elements of photographic composition that you need to consider when you go out in the field to take your photo. I'm going to talk you through a bit about my process. You're also in the right place if you're willing to try a new way to approach your photography, because if you're not willing to change, nothing will change. You've probably heard that saying before. What do they say? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting a different result. So today we're going to talk about some of the techniques that you can apply, and these might take you outside of your comfort zone. That's for sure. The other thing is you're also in the right place if you just want to get motivated to get out and shoot more. One of the most common feedback I get from this particular workshop is that people get to the end and they want to go out and try the different techniques to get better results. And so if that's what we do today, that's a great result. It'll be a fantastic result because I'm all about that. What I will do at the end as well is I'll talk to you a little bit about my course that I have available, but there's no obligation for you to join that. Today, I'm going to give you a huge amount of value anyway. But if you feel like you want a bit more, I'll talk to you about that at the end. Now, if you're wondering who I am and what brings me to be here, teaching people about photography, I've been doing photography for well over 30 years. And it all started out for me. I was sent on a trip around Australia with my school in a bus, and I had a little point and shoot camera, like a Hanimex sort of thing that had those cartridge films in it. And I was taking heaps of photos. And in fact, we got about halfway around the country, which took 31 days. We drove all bar 3 days of the whole trip. So it was a pretty quick trip, but we were driving around and I got about halfway and I had to ring mum and dad and ask for some more money. And they said, Ben, what are you doing with all your money? Are you buying lollies? Are you wasting it? And I said, no, I've been taking photos and buying film. And I'd gone through so much film that I needed more money to buy more film. And when I got back and we developed all my film, most of my shots were of the landscape, not of people I was with. There was some of the friends that I was with, but most of it was of landscape. And that was probably my first real realization that I really loved being out and about with my camera. When I got back from that trip, I was only 13. So next couple of years, I just finished school. When I left school and I started earning some money, I bought an SLR camera from Cash Converters, a Nikon, in fact. And Cash Converters is a pawnbroker here in Australia. And then I tried my hand at a few different types of photography, working as a photographer, photographing bands, weddings, kids' sports, portraits, family photos, etc. And about maybe, I want to say 15 years ago, I sort of lost my way with photography and I was a bit burnt out. And I ended up buying a course. I bought a course. It was about 90, I think it was $97 US. It was by a fellow called Trey Ratcliffe. I was following him online. He had a blog called stuckincustoms.com, and it was a travel photography blog. And he used a technique called HDR photography, which not a lot of people liked back then, but when done well, it can be really good technique. And I really loved what he was doing. So I bought his course, completed his course, and it really got me re-inspired and motivated to shoot more because I had these new techniques to use It also taught me a lot about using Photoshop as well, and blending, and making changes to my images and post-processing. And it was as a result of that, then I started to do a lot more photography. I started sharing a photo a day rather, on social media. And then I set up a blog. One thing led to another, and I ended up with a bit of a following online. It was not done on purpose. It just happened. It then led to the photo walk guys, or running photo walks, which then turned into the photo walk guys, which we had to stop because we had so many people turning up. We had hundreds of people turning up, and the councils were not happy with the amount of people we were taking on these walks. And then, of course, that sort of led to doing workshops and trips away. So you can see this photo here is actually where we were running a workshop in Tasmania. That's Dove Lake at the very famous Cradle Mountain, which is behind me there, where you can see the cradle in the mountain, which is really excited. Yeah, so some that's a bit about me. And I'm just passionate about helping other people really unlock the secrets to taking better images. And, I've been featured by Nikon, worked with Fujifilm. I was a Topaz Labs ambassador. The Bureau of Meteorology has used my images in their calendar. And I've spoken at lots of the photography clubs all over the place. So, really have enjoyed being able to spread some simple but effective techniques throughout, my travels and helping people with their photography. And today I'm going to do the same. I was interviewed by a magazine several years ago, and they asked me to describe myself in 2 words. And the 2 words I used was adventurous creator. And that's really what I see what photography is. It's an adventure and an opportunity to create. I'm not out there taking photos. I'm creating images. I'm creating artwork, and being able to share that with, proudly share that is good. But I love printing my own work up and hanging it in my house, which is exciting. But it wasn't always easy. As I said, I struggled to make images that I was happy with until I learned what I'm going to share with you today. I remember times when I'd go out, I'd shoot, I'd upload my images on my computer, and I just would shake my head and say, what am I doing wrong? I was really challenged by it. And, like I said, I bought that course, and then I just spent a lot of time really honing my skills. But in particular, what I spent my time doing was studying other photographers' work and learning from other photographers what was it that they were doing that was giving them the results that they were getting. Now, today, I've got a few things that I'm going to share with you, just so you know what you're going to get out of today. First of all, I'm going to share with you how to quickly find compositions. Now, I'm not talking about finding locations. I'm talking about once you're at a location, how do you then decide what to shoot? And I actually, especially with my YouTube videos, I get criticized quite often from people for not shooting a lot of compositions, running around like a headless chook. I just don't do it. I find a composition and then I shoot that. And that's typically how I work. And I end up getting the image that I have imagined I was going to get. So we're going to have a look at some of the world's greatest photographers, all-time photographers' images, and understand the fundamentals that go into a good composition. The second thing I'm going to share with you today is the 3 tricks that are used by pros to give their images a wow factor. And what this is the difference between a good photo and a great photo. So I'm going to share with you 3 tricks they use that are very common, but not as super obvious. But you'll start to see these in images when you look at images that appeal to you, and you'll start to be able to apply these things to you. The third thing I'm going to share with you today is the key elements. So there's 6 key elements that you should be thinking about when it comes to photography composition, especially landscape photography composition. And we're going to look at those elements. And some of those are technical and some are emotional. Okay, so they're not like rules and lines and stuff. They're more to do with other things that create emotion and make your images more evocative, which is cool. Now, I can see a few more people have joined us. If you've just joined us, please jump into the chat box, into the comments, and let us know where you're watching us from. Always love to see how many different countries we can get viewing us. Last Wednesday night, we had about 7 countries represented. We had people from Greece, the UK, Ireland, Australia, New Zealand, America. I think we had Norway. We had them from all over the world. It was pretty cool. So yeah, just let me know in the chat box where you're watching from, and be interested to see. All right, a few myths. Let's bust a few myths, because I think there can be some myths that will hold people back when it comes to their photography. G'day, Elaine from Jarvis Bay. Nice spot down there. Good for photography. So these myths, first of all, the first myth that I want to crash is that you do not need the latest gear or the most expensive camera to make amazing images. We see people, buying the latest and the greatest, and we get FOMO. I know I do. FOMO is fear of missing out. But you know what? I have taken some of my best images on film cameras, or even, some of my earlier DSLRs that had small sensors. You do not need the latest and the greatest. And in fact, in these days, it's even less of a requirement. If you're predominantly sharing your images online, you can get away with pretty much any camera. You don't need the latest and the greatest. And I see people that are not professionally selling their work buying really expensive DSLRs and just sharing their images online. I just don't think it's not what you need to do. You don't need the most expensive gear. I've got people doing my course that have got quite old cameras. You do not need the latest and old. And I'll actually share with you a bit later a photographer that has been very professionally selling his calendars and his art for some time, and he shoots with an iPhone. So we'll come back to that in a second. Another myth that I want to get rid of is you do not need to be born with it. You do not need to, it's not a talent that you just have naturally. Most of us have probably heard that before. Oh, they were born with it, or they're just a natural. Usually what happens is those people have started at a very young age. If you look at anybody who has been at something for a long time, they will just look like they're a natural, particularly if they were very young when they started. But they still had to learn. The difference is when you're young, you have less commitments, so you can spend more time honing your craft. So you look like a natural. But the reality is everyone can learn how to take amazing photos. The third thing is that you do not need to be in some exotic location to take amazing images. And in fact, what I'm going to do later on is I'm going to share with you some of the images that the students in my courses have taken after just a few weeks of doing my course. So, and they're all local to their homes. They don't go very far because, with my course, they've got assignments every week. So they need to stay close to their home to complete those assignments. And, most of them, no one really does the course in 3 weeks, but you could do. But, these are images that they have taken over the period of my course. And you'll see that you don't need to go very far to take a lovely image. Of course, it's nice to go to an exotic location and take some images, but it's better if you really understand, how to make your images stand out from the crowd. So when you get there, you can start applying some of these techniques. So you don't need it right now. So what makes a good photo? Let's talk about composition for a second and have a look at some of the pros that have gone before us. Now, I'm a great believer that if I'm going to learn something, I can try and work it out myself, or I can look at those that have gone before me and leverage off of what they've already done. And so I'd rather do the leveraging off of what somebody else has already done. And that means, buying courses, getting a coach, attending workshops, sometimes studying other photographers' work, whatever it is, because it shortcuts my process. And I don't like being frustrated. I don't know about you, but I like to just get the quickest and shortest route to getting the knowledge that I need so I can then start implementing it and practicing it. And so what I do is I quite often study other photographers. So, when it came to composition many, many years ago, I thought, well, I need to pick out some photographers that I know have had really successful careers. And I started with this guy here, Ansel Adams, because I don't think, being in the digital age really changes much. It's more about the fundamentals. Now, you've probably seen this guy before, quite a famous landscape photographer. If not, this is Ansel Adams. He is very famous for this image here, which you probably have seen. Now, this image here was featured on, I think, Mac OS 10 point something, which is probably why you might have seen it. It was on one of the Macintosh computer screens. I'm not sure exactly which one, but that's it. And let me know in the comments, have you seen this image before? There's a good chance you have. It's it's so hard to say, Yosemite, I think it is, National Park in the States. And it's a black and white image. Now, Ansel Adams was famous for landscape photography. He was famous for creating the 11 zone system. And he took a lot of amazing images. But like I said, this is the one that's most likely to have been seen by you. Now, there's a few elements going on here. So what I like to do when I look at another photographer's work is break down why would this image be working so well. And there's 5 key components of an image that you need to include if you want your image to be compelling. The first is foreground. Now, the reason why foreground is important is because foreground is how your brain calculates distance, especially if you have something that's got a repeating pattern like these trees. It enables the image to go from being two-dimensional back to three-dimensional, which is one of the biggest challenges we're faced with as photographers. And I'm going to show you an exercise shortly on the effects of that, right? On why it's such a big problem and why it's probably one of the key reasons you're not completely happy with all the images that you take. But foreground creates depth. Of course, it goes without saying that you then need midground and background, because foreground without those two things is just foreground. So to create the depth, we need to make sure that we think about our composition to say, are we including these elements? Contrast is another one. You've probably been told not to take photos in the middle of the day. And the reason or the explanation someone would give you for not taking photos in the middle of the day would be because it flattens your image. So contrast is what brings the light and shadows back into the image. It could be colors. In this case, this is a black and white image. So you can see the contrast here. Shot this late in the day or early in the morning. The sun's hitting this side of the cliff face and not into the valley, hitting over here and not down here in the valley. So it creates contrast, and contrast actually draws your eye into that area. The final aspect of a good image is drama. So how do you create an emotional element that is going to make the image stand out? So a good example of this is sunrise or sunset. You will see a lot of photographers will go out and take photos when the sun is rising or setting, and even more so, they'll use an app to be able to judge whether or not there is going to be much cloud in the sky, because they want the color in the sky and the drama of their clouds. So what they're starting to do now is they're starting to capture drama and emotion, right? It's more emotive. Like when you look at a really good sunrise photo, you're probably not looking at the compositional elements more so than feeling an emotion because it's warming or it's exciting, or you love the feeling that you get when you see a sunrise or something like that. So that's an emotional element to the composition, and we'll talk a bit more about that a bit later. Now, here's another one of his images. I just like to show this one because this one is less known, but it is an Ansel Adams image. And as you can see, the same elements are here as well. Foreground, midground, background, drama, and contrast. All 5 things are in these images, and they're pretty much going to appear in every image. Now, these are the basic fundamentals. We're going to get into a lot more detailed techniques very soon, but I just thought I'd show you where this all comes from. When I first started studying other photographers' work, I noticed that this was definitely a common theme. This is another one of my most favorite landscape photographers on the planet. This is Peter Dombroski. Now, if you haven't heard of Peter, he was famously known for being a landscape photographer in Tasmania that had a big role to play in stopping the damming of the Franklin River and, of course, conserving so many other nature reserves within the Tassie area. Unfortunately, he's passed away. He passed away, I believe, of a heart attack, dragging his film camera up a hill somewhere, because he used to go for days at a time off into the bushes to do his photography. But you can see here, this is a color image. There is a lot of contrast, but some of the contrast now is not just light and dark, it's also colors. So you look at the blue lake and the green mountains around it. But you can also see foreground nice and close here, these pandanus. You can see then there's a lake in the midground with this mountain, and then the background here. There's drama with the cloud and the mist. And it's a pretty amazing image. It's one of his most popular images. But just love his work. But this is another one of his here. You can see that you don't need a lot going on for a really compelling image. You can see here, this is the foreground, the midground, the background. We've got drama and we've got contrast. You can see the light hitting the side of that rock. And sometimes a good image or a great image is not about including everything. Okay, and we're going to talk a bit about that today as well, because it could have been tempting to try and do a much wider shot. But instead, what he's really done is made this the hero of the shot, included a few others for scale and dimensions and depth, and so he's ended up with a very compelling image because of that. So there's a lot to be learnt by looking at other photographs, and you don't want to copy other people's photographs, but it can help to really help you massage your style and get a style that suits you, by looking at other photographers' work. Now, it's certainly the case for me. You can see my influence. This is one of my images. Straight away, you can see a bit of the influence of the same sort of thing going on here. We've got a nice foreground down the bottom here, bottom third of the image. We've got this plateau here about sort of mid-ground, and then our background is back here as well. Not much going on in the sky, and if there's not much going on in the sky, I typically don't include much of it. So there's not much cloud or anything in this particular image here. This is Jamison Valley in the Blue Mountains, and this is called Olympic Rock Lookout. Now, if you actually went to this lookout, over here on the left where this rock is the actual lookout. And it's really tempting when you go to a lookout to shoot off the lookout. And most of the photos from this location are from the lookout. But just to the right of the lookout was a big rock, and it had this big broken rock here pointing out into the valley. And I just wanted to include that in my shot, in my foreground, because it really draws your eye in. This contrasts nicely with the green contrasts with the blue, and it's a very balanced shot, and that's really what you're trying to to achieve when it comes to your composition, is getting a nice balanced shot and something that sort of draws the viewer's eye in. Here's another example where this rock really is the hero of the shot. This is a local beach near me. It's called Zenith Beach. It's right near my house. Very lucky to have that nearby. But once again, a lot of people stand in front of this rock. Then all you have is sand, as where, at least with including the rock, you get some other elements. Also enabled me to hide the brightness of the sun behind it to get a better exposure. But yeah, it just gives you a bit of an idea of some of the things. You can see it influences my photography. And this is Philosopher's Falls in Tasmania. Once again, these can be quite tricky scenes to photograph. And this is from a lookout where you have no choice but to actually stand on the actual lookout. You can see, I've got the ferns in the foreground now. I could have shot this with a wide angle lens and it would just lose everything. Even though it was amazing when I stood there, I put a lens on that allowed me to zoom in, include some foreground, some midground, and some background, and then, of course, some drama, and, of course, the contrast of the waterfall, and including a little bit of the sky up here as well. Just to give it scale, depth, and create an image rather than just take a photo. And that's really what you're trying to do. Here's another one, the Remarkables in Queenstown, New Zealand. A lot of people will take the shot on the edge of this lake. Instead, I always look for something different, especially things that have been photographed a lot. And I found this property. They dumped all of this beautiful rock up here in the grass, and I used that as my foreground. It also enables me to get something a bit different that's balanced and makes you feel, creates depth. So that's what you're trying to do when you're composing your images. Another one from near my home, same example. You can see some nice strong foreground there, leading your eye out to the headlands here. Now I want you to remember this image. I'm going to show you another image of this same headland from a lookout shortly, and why we all struggle to take photos from lookouts. We're going to talk about that in a second. So what is the purpose of composition in photography? I think it's good to understand that before you go trying to implement techniques. And the reality is that you're going to be able to take a good photo. There's no doubt about it. If you go somewhere nice and you've got your settings right, you'll take a nice photo. But if you want an amazing photo, or if you want to make it an amazing image that gives your viewer an experience, then composition is what takes that photo of yours to that next level, because it means that you're going to actually think about what it is you're taking rather than just clicking the shutter button and hoping. And so composition is something that has techniques and makes you, or forces you, to put thought into what it is you're doing. And as soon as you're putting thought into what you're doing, you can really start to create something amazing. And we'll talk about that. And it's really, it's actually very easy to do. I'm going to show you some examples of the students that do my course, how, in a very short space of time, by applying the techniques that I'm going to teach you today, they are able to take images that they are super proud of, that they share, and that are great images. You're going to see them shortly. All right, before we jump into that, though, I want to talk about the elephant in the room, the one big problem that we're faced with as photographers. In fact, what I think is the biggest problem, and the reason why so many people struggle with getting images that they're super proud of, and that is that the moment you press the shutter button, you're taking what you are seeing as a three-dimensional image and you're creating a two-dimensional image. Remember that the sensor in your camera, or the film in your camera, is flat, and it renders everything on the image flat. And so the big challenge that people have is, how do you then take the two-dimensional and make it three-dimensional? And that's really what we're going to talk about in this first part. Because when you take a photo, you want to be able to turn it back the other way, because all your image is tones and lines. And there's 256 tones and lines, and that's what makes your image up. And by understanding this, you can start to make a change. So let's talk about the power of just one line. I want you to look at the triangle. And what you're seeing is a two-dimensional triangle. Okay, that is a flat triangle. But if I add one line, you're now seeing a pyramid. Now, this is because your brain is trying to normalize everything. Okay, your brain tries to work it out. Now, it's really just a line also on a flat screen pointing up to the left a little bit. But your brain doesn't want to do that. Your brain wants to try and make sense of it. So it says, that's a pyramid. That's actually going backwards. And so this is the power of one line. What if we add in a second line? And now you're really starting to see three dimensions. Or maybe we can add in some contrast. So the idea is that by understanding this, you can utilize this to force the viewer of your image to start to see depth and three dimensions rather than a flat image. And we're going to talk a bit about that today. So trick number one is to create depth and scale in your image and turn that two-dimensional back into three-dimensional. And this is probably one of the keys to be able to create an image that is going to draw people in. So let's have a look at how we apply this to our photography, because that's the theory. I'd rather show you something practical so you can see how to apply it. So here you are, you're out and about with your camera and you see this amazing mountain. And you say to yourself, I'm going to take a picture of that. That mountain looks amazing and it's going to look awesome. And so that's what you do. Now, to give you something that you will relate to, this is a picture from the lookout near my home of those headlands. Okay, so I just showed you that other picture before. When you go up to the lookout, it looks amazing. It is breathtaking. It is beautiful. And, you know, you look around and you just see everything because it's up high and it's beautiful. But when you take a photo, it's never the same. And so this is the challenge we have quite often when we get to a scene that is huge, that is a beautiful, I don't know, expansive scene. We take the photo, we get home, we print it up, put it on our screen, and we go, that looks so much better in person. And the reason for that is because from a lookout, it's very difficult to capture the essence of what you're seeing. Your brain is extremely clever, and your eyes look around and your brain renders a three-dimensional image of the entire scene like a big pano inside your head. You just don't realize it's happening, but your brain's extremely powerful. I'm going to show you some things that'll show that very shortly. So how do we use this then? If we go to this mountain and we want to make this image look better, then we need to start thinking about including or excluding elements. So instead of shooting just the one mountain, maybe I need to shoot the surrounding mountains so I can include midground and background, because now I'm creating some depth. Right? So that's one way to start thinking about what I include or exclude to bring my image to life. Maybe something man-made that the brain automatically knows what sort of distance this would be, because we know the road is not getting skinnier. So we start to realize that this is more distant away from us. So we can start to calculate distance. Our brain is very clever, as with things like road signs, for example. Now, if the sky has got some drama in it, we might include that as well. Okay, so some clouds. Like I said, if I don't have a lot of drama going on in the sky, I typically don't include too much of it. But let's say in this example, there is some. And then other elements that you could include to start to create emotion and create a bit of a picture. Maybe a house along the roadside with some beautiful flowers out the front. Maybe a car driving down the road, or an airplane taking off from the local airport, or a flock of birds flying in front of the clouds. All these things start to create emotions for people. And, you could ask one person, what does an image to you represent? And you'll get a lot of different answers based on what it is that it represents for them. Now, this is just an image that I put together using colored elements from Canva. It's not even a photograph, but I've created an image that is a story. And I do it like this because I want you to see that you can include elements in an image that start to create a picture that can then also evoke emotion. And so you might have, looked at this and you might like the birds flying through, or maybe you like the aeroplane, think about holidays, or maybe you like driving, or maybe you're a homebody, you like the house, the garden, the picket fence, who knows? But by including all these different elements, rather than just the mountain, I'm now creating something much bigger than just the mountain itself. And that's a better composition. Now, the reason why that works, even though it's just a Canva picture, is that your brain is a huge powerhouse. And you've got a huge portion of your brain that works on autopilot without you having to do anything about it, without you having even to think about it. It's called your subconscious. And your subconscious brain is always trying to normalize things, to make things make sense. And it doesn't matter what's going on, whether it's a noise in the corner, your brain's trying to work out what it is. It's someone running at you. It's I don't know. It could be anything. It's something that you look at. Your brain is always trying to normalize what's going on around you to make sense of everything. So I'll give you a couple of examples. Let's look at this photo here. Now, this photo is of a couple of black cars filling up at a Shell service station. Nothing too untoward there. This photo is a bunch of old cars parked outside a diner somewhere in the US. Okay, so this is the first one. This is the second one. What if I told you that these cars were toy cars and that this car here in the foreground is a toy car and the one in the background is a real car? There you go. So this fellow's called Anthony Schmidt. Now, Anthony Schmidt is the photographer that I was telling you about that does all his photography with a smartphone, and very, very talented young man. He's got a huge Facebook following. He sells a lot of his images. I believe he's autistic, and this is just his passion as he does this. And his mum really encourages it. She plays a big part on his socials and stuff. But he is just very, very talented when it comes to his photography. It's what's called forced perspective photography, but it's a great example of how your brain wants to normalize everything. Here's the other one, just so you can see exactly how he does it. So you can see that he's got a table set up with all those toy cars on them, and he's shooting it with his iPhone, and getting a photo that looks like a bunch of real cars parked outside that diner. You can see he's even gone to the trouble of putting water down so you get the effect of the rain that was going on that day. Very, very clever forced perspective photography. And just to give you a few other examples, yeah, he's clever, Lisa. That's right. So by the way, if you do want to follow him, it's Anthony Schmidt. You'll find him online. He's very, very clever. So here's another example. Like, your brain wants you to believe that those clouds are coming out of that spray can. That's what your brain wants to believe. But by looking at it, you go, no, they're clouds in the sky, and that's just someone holding a spray can. But your brain wants to believe that spray can is actually spraying those clouds. Okay, that's the power of your brain. Here's another one. Your brain wants you to think that guy's actually balancing on top of a small water bottle, and he's just a little guy. Even though his shadow is way back there, your brain still tries to make you believe he's standing on top of that bottle. Okay, it's called forced perspective. Okay, and it's a very, very powerful tool that you can use as a photographer to create depth and turn the 2D back into 3D in your images. So you can use this for good, which is really important. So here's some techniques that you can use. First of all, use perspective. Get close to your foreground. Now, this is a shot that I took of a place called Watui Falls. It's in New South Wales, a couple of hours north of my home. And a lot of photographers I see taking photos here will stand right on the bank of the water area of this lake, and they'll miss out on all this beautiful detail. And unfortunately, without strong foreground, it doesn't really bring it to life. All you get is the waterfall. Is where I like to bring in a little bit more of an element and get this close foreground in. Now, this is an extreme case where I've had to take 2 photos and focus stack because I was so close to the foreground. But you can see how it creates depth. Okay, so it draws your eye into the image rather than just a flat image. And you can certainly get a feeling for how far away that waterfall is from where I'm standing and feel like you're there yourself. Here's another example where using perspective can help you. This one here is Akaroa Lighthouse in New Zealand. And you can see that I've got really close to this bush in the front here. It's actually hiding a few things. There's a car park just here. There's actually a tourist bus just here. And the only way I could shoot this was in portrait orientation. And I think there was a bin here somewhere, or there was something here I was hiding in front of that other bush there. So by getting down nice and low, remember, it's about what you include or exclude to improve your images. So I'm making sure that I'm excluding all the things that aren't going to add to my image and including what I want to include. And by getting down low and shooting up also opens the image up. So a really good technique there. Here's another example of pointing the camera up and really opening things up. This is the Harbour Bridge in Sydney. And once again, you can see there's actually a lot of elements in this image here, but it's just giving you that example of using perspective to really create depth in an image. I mean, that's a huge bridge, and it's one of my most fun things to do with a wide angle lens, by the way, is to get down low and shoot up and include a lot of foreground, and it really does bring images to life. All right, trick number 2. If you look at any really popular photograph, not all of them do, but most of them do have this element, and that is have a leading line or some element that draws the viewer's eye into the image. Now, you've got to be careful with lines, because lines can actually draw the viewer's eye out of the image. And the lines could be a shadow or a light, or it could be something like a man-made object. So we'll have a look at a couple of examples. Now, this example here, just take note of where your eye is looking. Okay, I can guarantee you your eye has gone straight up here to the end of the path. Now, the reason for that is because this path is a leading line. There's lots going on here, but you probably didn't even look anywhere else in this image. I could have hidden a little, something somewhere in here like a rabbit, and you wouldn't see it. Why? Because your eye is just drawn to here. And there's 2 reasons for that. One is the line draws your eye up, and the other is the contrast of the light up here. That's what your eyes are drawn to. And so that is a man-made leading line. On the right here, this is a natural leading line. Okay, so you'll see this old bit of timber, and the contrast on that timber is a leading line as well, drawing your eye in. As is the shadow along this path is also a leading line. As is all of these roots is a leading line. So leading lines can be made up of a lot of different factors, and they're going to draw your eye in. Hey, g'day, Laurel from Victoria. Nice of you to join us. Good to see you here. All right. Here's another very common thing used as a leading line. And once again, just to show the power of a leading line, this is an image that I took on the road to Mount Cook in New Zealand on a road trip that I did there. You would be looking straight down here. Okay, that's where your eye, even though there's all this over here on the right-hand side, your eye would have been naturally drawn straight down this road. That is what leading lines do. Okay, they draw you in. They draw your eye to things. Now, they don't always have to be man-made, and they don't have to be super obvious. Sometimes they can be less obvious, like this here. But when you start to look for these as a technique and a component for your images, it'll make your images really pop. Now, this here is a picture that I took at a place called Longreef on the northern beaches of Sydney. And the leading line here is actually this dark sand leading up into this water around the rocks. It's not even a straight line up to the sun. Okay. That is what the eye would naturally be doing. Okay. So by having the camera positioned a certain way, and all of these lines here from the left all lead up to that same spot, and then drag your eye. Oops. Come back to there we go, and drag your eye up around there. So they're forcing you into the image, giving it depth and creating a sense of standing there in these 3 dimensions rather than it being 2-dimensional, which it is. It's just a 2-dimensional image, but we've got to bring it to life. We've got to create 3 dimensions. Another example, this is a tree near my home called the salamander tree. Unfortunately, no longer there due to the weather, maybe vandals, not sure. But you can see this one here, just the ripples in the sand is enough to lead your eye into where the tree is. Okay, it makes it quite easy for you to look into this image. Drags you in, creates depth, and yeah, it's got a lot of drama in the shot as well. So all of those elements in this particular image. Another very obvious one is jetties. I love jetties. Everyone knows I love a good jetty. And here, once again, I've got the leading lines coming out of the corners of the frame. You can see there, bang. And I'm so close to this here. You can see it's out of focus for the first maybe 20 centimeters. You may or may not be able to see that, but it is. But there, that leading line, once again, your eye would be looking up here. Okay, straight away, it draws your eye in there. So leading lines are a really, really great thing to do in an image if you want to draw the viewer in and create that sense of them standing there. All right, the third trick that I found pro photographers use pretty much all the time is drama, movement, intentional blur. And those things, those elements convey emotional or evoke emotions in an image. So if you think about an image that really stops you in your tracks, it's usually got some sort of element that is emotionally evoking you. Okay. So you've got to think about this when you go out to shoot. Now, this was a foggy morning near my home. Once again, I got up early for sunrise and it was foggy. Now, a lot of people just, don't bother going out. I always go out if it's foggy, simply because I know it's going to create some drama and give me something very different when I shoot. Now, this particular image here is it's a simple image. We've got the boat foreground, boat midground, sun background. But you can see these masts are like leading your eye in, but so is this light here. And even though the boats are a majority of the image, you would definitely have looked at the sun because of the drama of that coming out of the fog. And the fog and the mist just creates some suspense, some anxiety. You want to know what's behind there. What is behind all that fog? That's sort of how the brain works. Because remember, the brain is trying to normalize this, trying to work out what's going on. And so it creates this drama. And so whether it's rain, mist, fog, I used to love going to Vivid Sydney. And the Vivid Sydney is a light display in Sydney, a light festival. And I used to love going in the rain. Number one was no crowds. But number two, the rain just gave it a whole different dimension. A whole drama, a different kind of drama, and was really quite exciting to shoot in. Of course, fireworks will create excitement. So if, without the fireworks, this would just be an everyday ho-hum cityscape, but fireworks creates excitement. This is a shot I took on New Year's Eve about maybe, 10 years ago from with my, I think it was 200mm lens from a long way away. But yeah, that was, always very exciting. It was a very, very popular shared photo. Now, if I did not have the fireworks, I guarantee it wouldn't have been a very popular photo, but the fireworks made it exciting. It evoked an emotion. And that's what you want to try and do with your images. Also, reflections. If you see water, look for reflections and try and include them, if it makes sense to do so, in your composition. Reflections. This image was actually featured by Nikon in the campaign they were running. So, because I did shoot it with a Nikon, I shoot with Nikon, which was great, which is awesome. And it's funny because I looked at it, and whilst I liked the image, I didn't think it was worthy of that, but they picked it up and used it in one of their campaigns. It had I am something on, I can't remember. How they use the I am. I've got it saved somewhere because I screenshotted it when they used it. It was a pretty cool moment in time. But yeah, excitement is, there's lots of different ways to bring excitement into your images. Another way to create drama is with long exposures. Okay, so a longer exposure in certain circumstances will create drama. In this circumstance with the water, it creates a lot of drama because you get to see the movement of the water. And this is an image that I call the spa. You can probably work out why. It looks like a spa. You can see the water cascading off of the rock there. Okay, so you can see I've captured all of that. The water's moving around. And, it'll be evoking some emotion for you. There's probably, if you could hear the water rumbling through this little cutout in the rocks, you might feel a bit of the sea spray on your face. You'd feel like you're standing there. I've got nice and close to my foreground, as you can see here. In fact, sometimes I get so close to my foreground that I include a tripod leg by accident, especially if it's dark. So just be careful. But yeah, it just brings it to life. I could have lifted the lens up a bit and cut that foreground out, but the foreground just creates a lot more depth in an image like this. You've got leading lines. Of course, the water is a leading line. You've got this leading line here, this leading line here. It's all drawing your eye out into the image. It makes you feel like that you're standing there, which is what it's all about. Here's another example with long exposures. This is light trails. And there's actually a lot going on in this image that we could talk about from a composition point of view, but I really want to bring your attention to the light trails to start with. You can see the cars on this side, so tail lights and headlights. On the left-hand side, you'll see boats in the harbour moving past there. Now, remember before I talked about including and excluding different elements? Well, here I've actually got low enough so we can see the boats, but I had to be careful not to get too low, because then if I got lower, this light would intersect with the bridge. This fence would start to hide the opera house. So you just need to move around. There's a thing called parallax error, and you can use it to your advantage. I'll just give you a quick example. If you hold your two fingers up in front of your face like that, and you shut one eye and you turn your head like that, you'll see your fingers crossing over like that. They're not actually crossing over like that, but that's what you'll see. And you can use that when you're out doing your photography. So move around when you're doing a composition and just see where different elements sit, because from the perspective where you are, things will move around. And remember, once you've taken them, they sit on that image. It's actually two-dimensional, but we're making it three-dimensional. You can see here the light trails also creating leading lines, the fence line, the concrete, the path. We then got depth because we've got this repeating part, the fence repeating pattern. So your brain can instantly work out how far away everything is. And so lots going on in that image from a composition point of view to apply a lot of those things. Another way to create drama is to shoot at a time of day where people don't normally shoot, or normally things they don't normally see: sunrise, sunset, and astro. Now, I use this image as an example. Like any astro photo, without actually having the Milky Way in there, if it was just a dark night and no stars, it would be nothing. It would be black. So it's only the fact that drama exists in the sky that anyone would ever want to look at this photo. And this is quite a popular photo of mine. This is actually a place called the Warren Bungles. This is Split Rock. So you can see just there, that rock there, how it's got a split just there where my cursor is. Okay, it's called Split Rock. It's in Coonabarabran, which is the only certified dark sky park in the Southern Hemisphere. So if you're in Australia, that's the place to go if you want to shoot astro. It's a lot of fun. It does get cold at night. And when I was there was a mouse plague. They were running up my legs in the dark as I was taking these shots, which was a little bit distracting. But anyway, but you really want to have your camera settings, memorize your camera, because it's very dark there. But anyway, you can see that shooting astro, and if you've ever seen astro photos, you know that they evoke emotion. You go, oh, that's awesome. You really enjoy seeing them. So things like that. Same with sunrise, sunset, all of those things create emotion, right? So you can see here, this is a sunrise shot. Also the Remarkables, lots of foreground and that sun. And I've shot at a high aperture number, a high F number, which is a small opening. And that creates that starburst off the sun, which is called diffraction. It's because we're bending the light around the aperture blades into the camera. So that's an effect that you can use as well if you want to. Just a little bonus tip for you there. All right, so I'm guessing you showed up today because you want more confidence and want to take out the guesswork when it comes to choosing your competitions and then make images that you are proud of. If you've enjoyed today, let me know in the comments. And if what I'd like to do is just quickly say that although you've been here today, knowledge without action is useless. So you've got to go away and do something with this. And hopefully you've taken some notes and it's motivated you to think about your photography. But if it's okay with you, I wouldn't mind sharing some information about the course that I launched at the beginning of this year. It has become super popular and it's available for you. I'm going to make a special offer for you today to join me and all the other people in there. So if that's okay, I'll quickly run through that. It's called Master Landscape Photography Composition in 21 days. Now, even though you can do it in 21 days, no one has yet. Everyone takes a little bit longer, and that's because life gets in the way. But I've structured it in a way that it can be done in 21 days, which is kind of cool. And what I've done is I've got a guarantee period of 30 days, and I guarantee within 30 days you'll be taking better photos or you can have your money back. No questions asked. Now, I could tell you how good this course is, or I could share with you some of the student feedback, because if I tell you how good it is, that's just me bragging about my course. And, I can tell you that I've had dozens and dozens of people go through it and no one's ever asked for a refund. And in fact, I'm going to share some of the images from the students that so you can see the transformation that's happened for them. But here's some feedback. So Ren Thielen is a photographer over in WA. He's been doing photography for quite a long time, and he enrolled in the course when I very first launched it. He was one of the first students. And he says, Ben is a great teacher. This course is very informative with a hands-on approach, including weekly assignments and very helpful critiquing of your images. Instead of blasting away and taking snapshots and sometimes getting lucky to capture something decent, I now take my time, study the scene, and try to visualize the finished image, which is something that I teach throughout the course. And, if you feel like you've been just sort of clicking the button, hoping for the best, then this course would be a great thing for you. And Ren really found that was useful. Julie, she says here, the modules took me through a logical sequence with each element clearly explained and demonstrated, and the assignments at the end of each module reinforced my learning. So unlike a lot of courses, I have got field assignments. So at the end of each module where we learn techniques, you go out and you apply those techniques, take some photos, you upload them. And if you have the critiquing and coaching included, which I'm going to offer you to include for free today, but we'll get to that shortly, then you'll also get critiquing and coaching. If not, you can upload your images into the VIP group, and the other students will give you feedback as well. Bill, he said, I'm so glad I took this course. Ben has a natural ability to get you engaged in the course. Ben has created the course in a way that is easy to follow and allows you to work at your own pace, which I found great, as life always seems to get in the way. And he talks about the modules and giving you the freedoms to confirm and follow up on the teachings. But the reason I bring up Bill's one is he had some stuff come up in his life where he had to sort of put the course on hold for a month, which was fine. It's all done at your own pace. It's all online, and you can go back and redo any module at any time as much as you like. There's no limitation as to how you do it. So here's what you get in the course. You're going to get lifetime access to the Master Landscape Photography Composition course, which includes all future updates as well. So long as the course is live and available and I'm teaching, you'll have access to it. And any updates I make to it in the future, you'll also get. You're also going to get a 30-day money-back guarantee. Now, don't worry about the $197. You're not going to pay that today. I'm going to make a much better offer for you today if you're keen, right? There's no obligation. Some of you will get enough just from watching the free training. But if you want more and you want help, then I'll make you an offer that will make it easy for you, make it a no-brainer. Regardless of whatever you do, I just want you to know that if you do invest in the course, I'll give you a 30-day, 100% money-back guarantee, 0 questions asked. And I have not had one person ask. Okay, so I've had dozens and dozens of people do the course now. No one has ever asked for a refund. Everyone has loved the course. So, but it's there just in case. The other thing that everybody gets is VIP student-only community access. So we have a VIP community online with all the students in there. So you've got direct access to me, plus you've got all the other students. And I can tell you there's some pretty awesome photographers in there. So you get to mix and mingle with those people as well and learn from each other, which is a great place. Today as well, I'm also going to give you access to my Nailing Exposure course, normally $47. And this is to help you with your camera settings. Learn how to read histograms, understand metering modes, how to use exposure compensation, what mode should you be shooting in. So that course I'm including for free when you buy today, because I know a lot of people struggle with that as well, along with 2 upcoming courses which have not been released yet. You'll get access to them as soon as they're in course: landscape photography settings and basic Lightroom processing. So both of those are $47 once they're launched. So it's over $550 in value just there. Plus, as a special fast action bonus, I'm going to, if you enroll today, I'm going to give you personalized image critiquing and coaching from me throughout the course. And what that means is that when you complete each assignment and you upload your images, you'll be getting feedback directly from me and coaching from me. So, if I think you've missed the mark or you haven't quite nailed the technique, I'll tell you to go reshoot them, or, I'll tell you if you've done well. So I'll give you personalized coaching and feedback throughout the course. So in the course, what we cover this is, like I said before, you've got 24/7 access. It's a course that is hosted on a platform called Kajabi, which is it's actually a very amazing course platform. It's a very robust platform. You can download an app on your phone, do the course on your phone. You can use your tablet or you can use your computer. Any time of the day you've got access. You just have a password and a login. You log in and you can do the course. Each module has downloadable cheat sheets, video, and then assignments at the end. And like I said, you can comment and ask questions as you go through the course as well. As you can see here, gets you prepared, takes you through the fundamentals of composition. Then we have several lessons on technical elements, several on emotional elements, and then a whole module on honing your composition skills. And at the end of each of these, you go out and you shoot images. So there's 4 assignments to complete as you go out and you shoot the image. You practice the things that you learn. So 4 field assignments means that you actually practice what it is that I teach you, and that means you're more likely to retain it. I don't know if you're like me, but if you're a creative, you're probably more likely to remember something if you do it, if you touch it, feel it, and make it happen. So I'm very big on that, and that's why I've included that in this course. Like I said, you get the VIP student-only community where you can share your images, your wins, questions, and communicate with VIPs. It's a private group. No one can find it. You have to be invited to it. And as a group member, as a student, you'll become a group member. Just a little bit more student, and I'm going to share some of their images as well. This one here is Kathy. She said the course was good in that you set your own goals, which I help you do in the beginning, by the way. And it says after each module, you had the opportunity to do practical submissions for feedback, demonstrating what you had learned, so you could see for yourself how you had improved, and not just told a lot of stuff and see how you go. I've done quite a few courses. I find the ones that are probably most disappointing are the ones where it's stuff that you just get given knowledge and no one checks in on you or helps you with it. And you could have just watched YouTube. So I've created this course. So it is a course. As a student, you go through the different modules, you practice things, you get feedback. So really, really important. Suzanne, Ben is a great teacher. He explains everything in layman's term, making it easy to understand. She said, I've learned to slow down and observe the scene. I'm more confident in looking at the scene to find compositions. As you can see, I've got a pretty relaxed teaching style. If you've enjoyed this, you'll enjoy the course. If you don't like my teaching style, don't buy the course. You won't like it in there either, because there's a lot more hours of me in there. But this is, this is my style. I like to keep it simple. I don't overcomplicate things. Diane said, I found the course comprehensive, but at the same time, easy to follow. Ben has a lovely, relaxed and wonderful style of teaching, and my composition skills have gone to another level. So great feedback from Diane as well. So here's some of the images. Now, remember, these images were taken after in just doing the course in a short space of time. So they might have taken them a month to do the course or 2 months. But, these are images that they've been able to create after learning all the different techniques. So you can see Julie's on the left there, Julie Westley. We have Bill Dunshee on the right. Ren Thielen on the left. Tim Norris on the right there. You can see Kathy's there on the left. Steve's on the right. So you can see these images are much more thought through images with foreground, leading lines, contrast, depth, emotion. Okay, so these images are much, more powerful images than what they would have taken before. Now, at the end of the course, I want you to meet Tim, because at the end of the course, I ask every student 3 questions. I'm just going to share Tim's answers with you, because it'll give you an idea as to whether or not this course is for you. So the first question I ask is, looking back at your goals, how has this course helped you achieve or become more confident you'll achieve these goals? Tim said, looking back on the goals I originally set, this course has helped me achieve them to an extent greater than I ever expected. So that was awesome. The second question I ask is, what has been your biggest transformation from completing this course? Tim said, the biggest transformation has been that I'm now starting to think like a landscape photographer, and the principles and techniques I have learnt throughout the course are becoming more intuitive and natural part of my photography. I can now envisage the image I want to create, develop a plan, approach to achieve this, and I have the confidence to execute it. Awesome. And the third question I ask is, if you have enjoyed the course, I would love it if you could write 1 or 2 sentences of your feedback that I could use to help others when thinking about enrolling in this course. So this is Tim helping you make the decision. He said, by undertaking this course over a few short weeks, I have developed a better knowledge, skills, and confidence to shoot landscape photos to a standard that I thought would take many months or even years to achieve. Ben's connective communication and coaching style, combined with high-quality course content in an easy-to-engage with delivery model, creates a compelling learning experience. The practical field assignments with guided feedback and opportunity to engage with other course participants throughout the online community really add to the overall experience. If you want to take your landscape photography to the next level, I cannot recommend this course enough. I just want you to take a moment to see that one there. He said, my knowledge, skills, and confidence to shoot landscape photos to a standard I thought would take many months or even years to achieve, he said, in a few short weeks. So the reality is that what I teach, you can quickly implement and start seeing results quickly in your photography. So here's a quick recap of what you get. Lifetime access to the Master Landscape Photography Composition course, including all the future updates. You get the 30-day money-back guarantee. Like I said, no questions asked. If you're not happy with something, you log in, you don't like it, it's not for you, just send me an email and I'll refund your money. I'm not about taking people's money without giving you what you want. And I understand that courses, I won't buy a course without it anymore because, you just don't know what you're going to get once you get on the inside. But like I said, I haven't had to refund anybody. So that says something. Lifetime membership to the On Three Legs VIP students only online community. That is the community where you have direct access to me and all the other students. Okay. And VIPs get additional things that nobody else gets. Mini courses, nailing your exposure, settings for landscape photography, and basic Lightroom post-processing. All of those 3 courses are going to be included. You'll also get the landscape photography checklist. If you registered for today, you will get that sent to your email address if you used an email to register for this event. And of course, we've got the special fast action bonus for today only. Enroll today and you'll get personalized image critiquing and coaching from me throughout the course. So as you complete each assignment, you'll get feedback. Normally $197 US. Now I use US dollars for those of you in Australia. Sometimes I get some negative comments about it, but it would be more if I was going to do it in Aussie dollars. I'd probably charge $300 because it's a pretty comprehensive course. Normally it's $197 US. I use US dollars because I have an international audience, and US dollars is sort of the international currency, if you like. Today, you're not going to pay $197 anyway. You are going to pay only $77. So only $77 for today only. You're going to save $120 US. Okay. Now, $77 US is about 115 Aussie dollars for those of you in Australia. For those of you in the rest of the world, I haven't worked it out, but I know for the Aussies, that'll give you a bit of an idea. Now, remembering the fast action bonus that you're going to get, which is you're going to get the personalized image critiquing and coaching from me throughout the course. Personally, if for me doing a course, if I was going to get critiquing and coaching from the course creator, that would be worth it alone. But you're going to get all those other bonuses as well. To get the course, if you're watching this in the webinar room, down below a button should have appeared, and that will give you access to the page that you're seeing on screen now, which is this one here with the Enroll Now button on it, okay? If you're watching this somewhere else, I'm just going to pop the link into the chat box, but it is On Three Legs. It's down here, on3legs.com, composition in 21 days, okay? / composition in 21 days. If you go there, you'll see this page with the big blue button. You just click on the Enroll Now button, that big blue button, and it will take you to a form that should automatically take the $120 off. If it doesn't, just refresh the screen. Sometimes I find with multiple people going there all at once, it can play up a little bit. I know Wednesday night we had, I think it was 9 people all join the course at once, and some of them had trouble with the form. So just be patient with the form, and it should work once you get over there. Now, I'll take any questions. If you've got any questions or feedback, pop it into the chat box. If you have any trouble with checking out, let me know and I'll help you get checked out. But all you need to do is just fill in your details here, press the complete my purchase. As soon as you've done that, you'll get emailed access to the course, and you can start straight away. It'll tell you the beginning of the course tells you how to join the VIP group, how to get your gear ready, and choose your, I take you through setting your goals, etc. So it's you can get stuck straight into it. All righty. Any questions, please pop them into the chat box. Looking forward to helping some of you with your photography. Like I said, if it's not for you, that's okay. I know the courses aren't for everybody. It might not be the best timing for you. But it doesn't matter if you can't start it for a couple of weeks, you can still get the deal. And when you start it, you start it. But if you do enroll today, you will get that fast action bonus as well of me critiquing and coaching you throughout the course. you'll get that fast action bonus. So just go to that website or use the link down below and click on the enroll now button and you'll be able to get that offer. It doesn't say on the form that you're going to get the critiquing and the coaching because I don't normally offer that. Otherwise, I'd be too busy. So people who just go to the website and buy it don't normally get that. But you will get it, okay? Because I know that you're here and I'll make sure that you get the critiquing and coaching through it. All righty. All righty. And, you know, if you want to let us know that you've enrolled, pop it in there. We'll give you a big congratulations. My system normally tells me there's people enrolled, but it's something going wrong with it today. So I don't know real time. Normally I know real time. It pops up on my phone, but let me know if you've enrolled. And, yeah, we'll give you a big congratulations. Looking forward to helping you take your photography to the next level. Thanks, Laurel. Glad you enjoyed it. Looks like Jan is here. Hey, Jan, how you going? You were late, very late. All right. Let me know if you need any help with the checkout. Like I said before, you just need to click on that big blue button and it should take the $120 off for you, which is about $170 Aussie, I think, that you're saving today. Plus you get that fast action bonus of the coaching and the critiquing. I'm just going to let my pup out. She's at the door. I don't know if you can see her down there. I'll just leave that open for her so she can come back in. She needs to go out the back. Hello, Charlie. How are you? Charlie said hi too. Awesome. All righty. So just remember, if you enroll today, you will get the coaching and critiquing. Doesn't say it on the page there, but you do get that. You would definitely get that. That's probably one of the most common questions I get. Doesn't say it on the checkout form, but you will definitely get it if you enroll today. Any questions, comments, feedback? Pop it in the chat box now. Love to hear from you. All right. If you need any help with the checkout, I can help you as well whilst I'm here. If something's not working for you, let me know. It's normally fairly straightforward. Just got to pop in your email address that you'd like to use, name, and then create a password. As soon as you've paid, you will get an email. Just let me know if you're using Outlook, because we have had a couple of people this week have problems receiving their email, their login details when they're using Outlook.com. Looking forward to taking some landscape this weekend. Where are you heading to, Jan? Out doing some landscape photography, are you? Awesome. All right. A couple of registrations come through. Congratulations. Looking forward to helping you. All right. All right, if there's no other questions or anything at this stage, I'm just going to wind things up. If you need any help registering, let me know. I'll still be sitting here. Just jump into the chat box and I'll do my best to help you. I can see a couple of you already registered, so everything's working, which is good. Telling me that the enrollments are working. Like I said, if you're having trouble, just try refreshing the page and enroll again. It goes wrong, so I find for some reason. Just don't do that after you hit the complete your purchase button. But if the page is not loading, probably that's what you've got to do, and that'll make sure that you get your spot in the course. All right, thanks again for attending live. If if you're watching the replay, then you also get the same offer. So jump in there, fill in the form, and hopefully I'll see you on the other side of the course. Adios. Bye for now. It's awesome, Lise. Can't wait to see you in the course. Exciting stuff. Thanks, Anne. Appreciate you coming along today. Just a reminder, if you need any help with anything, checking out. Excuse me. I am still here if you need help. You can see a few of you are still here, which usually means a few more people are enrolling. If you need any help with the enrollment, just let me know. So I can see 3 now have gone through. So great stuff. Obviously all working. It's always my fear. Is it something that's not working properly? It's been a really good system. So I think it works, but every now and then I see just a few people have had trouble when there's been many people. Off to fix the caravan. All right, Lise. Excellent stuff. Look forward to helping you with your photography. Make sure you check your inbox and check your spam folders so you don't miss out on the login info.